Hello, internet viewing world. The Acedian frame is back. So this video, I wanted to kind of talk about a little bit of the ways that you may be able to bounce back if you suffer from depression, and my experience with those ways. So the first thing would be the topic of religion. How has religion impacted me and my experience with depression, and I guess my life in general? I'll say that I didn't grow up as a particularly spiritual or religious person. Me, my mom, and my brother, we all went to church every Sunday when I think I was in elementary school, and me and my brother went to Sunday school. And the main draw of going to Sunday school was that they gave us donuts. Plain and simple, that was the main reason I was excited to go every Sunday. I didn't really have much interest in the Bible. Oh, we were. I'm pretty sure she's Catholic, so we would go to a Catholic church. But I didn't really have much interest in the Bible or in the scripture or anything like that. My aunt, one of my mom's sisters, is also a pretty devout Christian, and the two times that I would vacation at her house in New York, she kind of forced me to take a part in some of their Christian activities. And they went to church on the Sabbath. Every day they had like a set of devotionals, like a set of activities that you do to show appreciation for God and everything He's given us, like performing some acts of gratitude, performing some acts of selflessness, and things like that. But again, I was forced into it. I really wouldn't have done it on my own, and I didn't resent doing it. Well, I didn't resent it on principle. If I had any kind of annoyance to it from it, it was because it's a time away from my video games. But I didn't have any strong feelings about religion one way or the other. My mom, however, did. So once we got to middle school and high school, she didn't really force us to go to church anymore. So I kind of fell out of going to church since I wasn't made to go to church anymore. I didn't really read the Bible on my own. I didn't really cultivate my spiritual side at all since middle school without somebody outright making me. Having said that, even though I'm not that much of a devout Christian or a devout spiritual person, I do like to believe in the better part of people. I do think that the 10 Commandments are a pretty good set of guidelines to live by. A pretty universal set of rules just to be a decent person. I guess one thought I had that gave me comfort was the thought of reincarnation. Maybe the thought that this isn't the only life you get, maybe you get a do-over. And I believe that just because it was a comforting thought. Not because of it being a part of Buddhism or any other religion that believes in it. I just thought it was a nice thought. So personally, religion didn't have that strong of an effect on me just because that's how I am. But religion did affect me because my mom was religious, and as I may have mentioned in another video, with her being as strong a believer as she is, any kind of, I guess, mental or emotional problem that we would have brought to her or may have brought to her, the most she would have said would just be to pray about it, to talk to God about it. And I won't deny that that can definitely help, but sometimes it's just not enough, especially if you're in some deep feelings. being told to pray about it will not feel like enough. You want more, I guess you want more concrete advice. You want more tangible solutions than praying about it. Not to say that praying about it is useless, especially if you are very religiously inclined or very spiritual. Prayer can be a very important first step. But there needs to be something else that you do. I've heard the example a lot recently that even if you are a straight Christian, a devout, so by the book, by the holy book, even if you get stricken with some horrible physical illness, you won't just pray about it. You would go to a doctor. Even if they told you some bad news, you'd probably pray. You'd pray before and after, but you'd still go to a doctor. And yet, with a lot of people, not just with Christian people, but a lot of people don't consider their mental health as important as their physical health, which is a bit unfortunate. But yeah, religion didn't have much an effect on me. When I was in the midst of my depressive episodes, I don't really recall ever praying for much of anything. I don't really recall talking to a higher power about, I guess, anything. Having said that, I do have times where I think about my friends. I think about the people that I care very much about. I think about my family, both related by blood and related by our bonds. And I wish for their happiness and their protection. I couldn't answer who I'm sending these wishes to, but I do hope and wish for their good health and their happiness and their success. And I do that routinely. So maybe that counts as prayer. Yeah, I guess that does count as prayer. But yes, religion can be a very great help to you if you are religiously inclined. By all means, don't let that be the only thing that you seek comfort. Don't let that be the only way that you try to find comfort if you are in the midst of deep sadness or depression, or you're having an anxiety attack. Prayer is very nice. Prayer can be very powerful, but it shouldn't be the only thing you do. Now, on the subject of things that you do, what would be my thoughts about medication? Me, I don't have much experience with medication. The hardest thing I've taken until very recently has been like Tylenol or Aleve or basic painkillers. I've never had to go to like a hospital and be drugged or numbed or made loopy out of my mind or something. Even going to the dentist, they never had to put me under. Yeah, I don't think until very recently that I've taken anything stronger than a basic painkiller or a basic antibiotic. I was recently, when I was in the midst of a major depressive episode, incidentally the one that led to the suicide letter, I was prescribed an antidepressant. And taking it, I don't really recall that much of an effect. I am not going to say that antidepressants are useless. I'm not going to say antidepressants aren't worth it. I'm not going to say antidepressants may not have helped me if I had kept with it. I will just say that the specific one I took didn't have too much of an effect on me, and it's not as though I just took it like cold turkey or over the counter, or I just asked for it or did it on my own. I did it the proper way. I talked to a psychiatrist. The psychiatrist asked some questions. The psychiatrist gave me a certain prescription to start off on. We communicated regularly so they could monitor my progress, and I did it properly. But it just wasn't having the desired effect. So we got off. We could have gone to getting prescribed maybe a different medication along the line if I had voiced my concerns or if I had wanted to. But we decided to stop. Because frankly, I think I may be misremembering it. I actually think that the suicide letter was conceived when I was in the middle of taking the antidepressant. Actually, I think that's right. I think I had actually written the letter while I was in the middle of taking the antidepressant. I can't say for sure whether the antidepressant caused me to write the letter, because it's certainly not a new idea that was mulling around in my head. But I can't argue with the fact that I didn't actually write it until I was actually on the antidepressant. So I had to take that as I would, and you'll have to take that as you will. I've certainly thought about the letter after I stopped being on antidepressants. But that's just been my experience with it. It didn't really have so much it didn't have a very noticeable effect. I didn't immediately see the sunshines and rainbows in life, or whatever other stereotypical effect antidepressants are supposed to have. But if you do suffer from depression or anxiety, and you do think that medication may be able to help, I do urge you to do it the right way, to talk to a psychiatrist first. These medications can mess with your body if you take the wrong dosages or if you take the wrong one. And even so, you may not care about your life if you're in a similar place that I was. I still, well, speaking for myself, I would not want to go out like that unintentionally. I would have wanted to have a little bit more planning involved. But yes, if you're going to take a medication, please consult your psychiatrist. Like, don't mess around with it. Even the act of wanting to take medication shows that you do want to get better. And if you're going to get better, it's going to take some knowledge. So the last thing I want to talk about would be the power of belief. So when you are in a depressive mood, and maybe even when you're out of a depressive mood, you probably tell yourself things over and over again that aren't true. But since you've repeated it so often, and you've ruminated over it so often, you start believing it is true. I am a guilty party to that myself. When you tell yourself things for such a long period of time, of course you're going to believe it. I've given this example before, looking up in the sky saying that it's blue, and then suddenly you're trying to get better. It's as if somebody's trying to convince you that the sky is green. it goes completely contrary to what you've been believing. But just as strongly as you believe the worst of yourself, you can believe the best of yourself. And others probably believe the best in you. The power of belief is no laughing matter. And anybody should be able to see that. Even if you're depressed, you should be able to see that because you're a victim to it. You believe in something so strongly that it's killing you, plain and simple. It's killing you. Maybe if not overtly physically, it's certainly killing you mentally and emotionally. And eventually it probably will kill you physically. But when you believe something, you gain a certain kind of control over it. It gives you a way to go. And it isn't even just restricted to you. When others believe something about you, or when others believe in you, that can greatly affect you too. What I'm trying to get at is that I very recently made a resolution to myself. And it's a resolution that I'm constantly battling myself over, and I'm pretty thankful and pretty, I guess, a little bit proud of myself that I've been able to keep this resolution in my heart. I made a resolution that I wouldn't question what I bring to relationships. I wouldn't question that I am a good person to know. I wouldn't question that I'm not burdening the people who I've grown to love. The coworkers who became a brother and sister. The coworker who became an uncle. I wouldn't doubt that I mean a lot to them. I wouldn't doubt that I'm not forcing myself on them or they're just doing it to pity me. I would quell those thoughts. I'd be more secure in our relationship and in our bond. And that's a pretty big resolution to me because that was probably one of the main things that would send me into a depressive episode, thinking I need to isolate myself. All I do is bring people down, and these people have their own goals, and I don't want to get in the way of that. I should just stand aside. I shouldn't get too close. Or, since these group of friends are, if not successful by the way society defines it, they are independent. Some of them have family, like all of them have family members, all of them have children. So they're all kind of independent, and they're all some years older than me. So there have been times where I was just telling myself, how can I possibly impact their life in a good way? They must have other friends and family members who are more knowledgeable than me, who are more experienced than me, who are funnier than me. It was basically, where do I fit into their life? I probably don't. There's probably somebody they go to over me. And I finally been able to lay those thoughts to rest for the most part. I'm finally able to just let the bond be, believe that the bond is real. And that's given me a pretty good amount of peace inside, just because I've managed to get a hold of one of the main limiting beliefs I've had. And that probably holds true for you too. If you think along the lines that I did, that you don't bring anything to anybody's life, I'd like to challenge you to maybe question that. And on that note, questioning some of these beliefs about yourselves is a pretty good way to get rid of them as well. Some of the horrible, outlandish things you tell yourself, yeah, you believe them because that's what you've been telling yourself, but just try to find examples of proof of your belief. Try to find hard examples that prove what you're saying is true, and that you could say it to somebody else and they would also believe that it proves it true. Challenging your beliefs is a good way to either strengthen them or get rid of them. And challenging that belief has proved to be very helpful for me. So that's just one of my resolutions that I recently made, and I'm getting the personal strength to make some more, to improve my life some more. And these videos are a big help to me, and I hope they're a big help to anybody watching it. Just that I may not be the most well-read, I may not be the most influential, I may not be able to impact you as strongly as somebody you may know or somebody closer to you, but I am speaking from the heart. I am speaking from a place of compassion. I don't make these videos with the intent to mislead anybody. I don't make it with the attempt to discourage you. I only make them to share my story and to encourage you, to maybe provide a glimmer of hope. And even if I can't see myself how I may do that, I do have the belief that I can. Much like my relationships, I may not know, or I may not be able to pinpoint what facet of myself attracts people, but that's alright. I'll just keep being myself. And I think that's all anybody asks for. So that'll be the end for this one, and I will see you guys later.